A Kangaroo Fern production.
Welcome
to Gorilla Podcast, Fresheyes,
the beat that makes you feel good.
a weekly podcast that features interviews with social change leaders or individuals that aims to bring audiences good stories to motivate their own social impact efforts. Now, here's your host.
Hello, everyone. This is Gorilla Podcast with Fresheyes, and we have for our future subscriber and our audience right now. I'm very excited right now that we have a very special guest today. So please welcome it's a hip hop rapper, Mr. Mugzy. How are you?
Yeah, good man. Thanks for having me on the show, and hopefully we can discuss some hip hop, some acting, and just all around 5 elements of hip hop knowledge, man. So thanks so much for getting back to me, man. Like most of the time, I got to wait a day or so for people to get back to me, but you're just like boom, boom, boom straight away. And I was like, man, this guy's dope. I got to get on his show for sure.
Thank you so much. Well, during my younger days with my titos and titas, one of my favorite hip hop song during my days, it's 90s. It's one of my artists is the Vanilla Ice. So one of the song I love is the Ice Ice Baby. So when the Mugzy just sent me an email and wanted to be on the show, I'm very excited about this because this is the first time I'm gonna interview an artist, a hip hop artist who is been a lot of tour. You already have album, I presume, based on my researcher. So he said that you already have an album. So first thing, so that our future subscriber and our subscriber right now who is watching here and also listening to other platforms. So this is going to be listened to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. So Mugzy, can you tell our audience about yourself?
Yeah, so I mean, to tell a little bit about my story and like how I started doing hip hop music. I'm 28. I started doing hip hop music or even knowing about the culture of it when I was 14. So roughly 14 years ago, man. It was sort of the early thousands era, like artists like Eminem, Jay-Z, 50 Cent, or they used to call it the platinum era, man, where everyone was wearing the platinum chains and the baggy clothes and stuff, man. And I just remember being that wild kid, man, like hanging with the wrong crowds and, like just had a lot of mental health and depression and stuff. And I kind of just used hip hop as a therapeutic platform, man, to really like write, rhythm and poetry, man. But something about those guys that I used to listen to, they had that raw aggression through their music and the power through their imagery. And I just wanted to follow in their footsteps, man, and hopefully I could make a difference through just not only my circumstances in life, but someone else that was probably going through like a mental awareness kind of thing. And from 14 till 28, man. Well, I'm 29 in January. So yeah, 14, 15 years, man. I've done a whole bunch of stuff, man, like with interviews, albums, acting gigs. The grind never stops, man. I just get a whole bunch of coffee inside me, man, and I just grind. Yeah.
So other people, so our subscribers, where do you came from?
No, Australia, man. Yeah, I was born here. I'm from a place called the Central Coast, which is about 2 hours north of Sydney CBD. So it's basically kind of country. So I mean, if I want to go down to gigs or performance stuff, I basically got to catch a train to the CBD. And so sometimes, man, like it depends on the time. I'll get home sometimes 3 a.m, and then I got work the next day. And or like if I don't have work the next day, sleep on the bench and to get to the gig the next day. And I've done the whole grind, man. But yeah, I mean, I don't live in the heart of the CBD. It's too damn expensive for my liking, man. But hopefully someday, man.
Oh, so when did you first inspired to become like a musician, become a rapper? So is that
Well, when I was starting off, man, I mean, I was like, I didn't really know the techniques and
Hmm.
the cultural kind of element of where hip hop came from. I was sort of, I guess you can say, mimicking exactly how Eminem used to write.
Yeah.
Like if you listen to like his Slim Shady and Marshall Mathers LP, it's very twisted and very aggressive kind of wordplay. Like if you listen to
Hmm.
his songs like Stan and Kim and like very violent kind of rhyming. But I used to write like that just to express my anger and stuff when I was a young teen. But I remember back in the day with VH1, MTV, BET, they used to play these hip hop programs that would take you back through time, like the 70s, the 80s, the
Hmm.
90s. And I'd see these dudes, man, like KRS-One and LL Cool J and Public Enemy and stuff. And they'd be preaching about how hip hop was brought up on authenticity and uniqueness. Like you can have your, I guess, influences to structure your own career, but if you're really cloning them and mimicking them and not following your own path, um you're not going to be really respected in the house of hip hop, man. So I mean, I thought, why don't I find a proper outlet and write about my own struggles with mental health and stuff, and just use it as what the original base was, is a message. And that's what hip hop's brought up on, man. And I think the spark that really hit me was when I released my first ever demo. I think it was like roughly 2 or 3 tracks, and they're pretty crummy tracks, man. But I remember handing it out and doing the hard. This is before
Hmm.
social media, man. So handing it out like at local gigs or local stations, and just that buzz, like that little local celebrity kind of buzz of like, yeah, we know that dude. He's doing hip hop music now. Yeah, check him out, check him out. And it was just like, dude, I can't put this away now. This is too much, you know.
Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button now. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. Now, back to the show.
So, as I said, so what type of music you're writing? Is that because of you have mental health during that time, and then you write something about it, and then inspire people to do the
Yeah,
same?
basically like that, man. But the thing that's different with me, man, is I've like, and I think this is the reason why I haven't released anything since 2013. Well, one, I jumped into the acting field, but um, I'm sort of the artist, which is like I'm not really an artist that just writes to any beat just to release product, man. I really like to concept my music and find the right beat, find the right structure and sounding on what I can promote out there. Because when I was starting off, man, just handing out demos and stuff, yeah, I would
Mhm.
write to any beat and saturate, like my product and my, category. But when I got more older and knew how the concept of to develop a song to write in a studio, the process of just waiting around to get it all set up. I was like, man, I want like better sounding album. Like I want better quality music that will have longevity compared to just releasing like 20 albums just with saying nothing on them, man. So that's why I haven't released anything for so long, man. But in saying that, hopefully something by the end of this year and 2020, man. Like for sure, because it's like I love the whole acting stuff, man. But the music side of things, man, like nothing can beat the adrenaline high of performing on the mic, man. You know? Yeah.
So, how many singles have you released?
Albums wise, man, I've released two, and singles. I think the my first album, man, like I couldn't even tell you. It's been so long. But my
Mhm.
second one, probably like there's probably like 5 singles on it. So
Okay.
Understand Me, Can't Stop Us, Rain,
Hmm.
My Journey, and there's one other one.
Hmm.
I can't remember the other one, but I think there's like 4 or 5 that are singles, man. Yeah.
So, on that singles, any favorite track and
Mm.
why?
Any favorite? Yeah, I think my favorite track, or even in general, which I've written, man, was My Journey.
My journey.
When
Yep.
at the time I written that, my producer Pablo was like, "Yo, we need a track to end off this album, like being impactful, like a lot of maybe like rock and roll with it, like a lot of like orchestra, like impact. And yeah, like we just came up with a concept of my journey, like start the first verse with how you started with hip hop, second, how you concepted your identity and your, structure, and then third, how you escalated that. And I think to this day, even performing it wise, man, it's like one of my favorites, man. So I'm happy I finally released it.
So you're saying before that you also doing some acting. How did you first dibble in acting?
Yeah, man. I mean, so from like 14 to whenever my third album dropped, 2013, however old I was there, I was doing music nonstop, like just gigs, interviews, promoting, and it was becoming a bit stale, man. Like, I was just in a kind of rat wheel of just doing that, and I wanted to try and find more outlets and more avenues of the entertainment industry. So I remember my grandfather was like, "Yo, I found an ad in the paper, and
Okay.
there's like a talent agency looking for talent, that is signing people to commercial work and stuff." And I was like, "Why don't you give him a call?" And I gave him a call, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll hook you up to some gigs and stuff." And my first ever gig, man, was herbal essence shampoo. And I was just playing an extra in the background, even though back then my head was like fully shaved, so I didn't even have any hair, man. And yeah, I just remember, man, like seeing how the camera works, seeing how actors work, and like learning lines and stuff. Even though I was an extra, but later on, and it's addictive, man. I'll give it to the actors, man. Like, I mean, I love performing different characters in front of the screen, and I've never had like training in it or studied it. So I mean, I tip my hat off to some actors that can really get in depth with those roles, man, because I've had some difficult ones before which were out of my element, my comfort zone, man, and I'm like, whoa, man, like this ain't me, like this ain't my everyday life, kind of thing. So yeah, like kudos to like whoever does it, man. So yeah, they're my two platforms, is hip hop artist and actor, man.
How do you find acting as with the music? So which
I've
which art form? So as I said, which art form do you
mm,
like better and why? Is that acting or you still go on the music?
no, I love music more, man. Like performing my craft in front of crowds and letting them kind of like eat up the new sound. But what's more challenging to me, because I've done music for so long, man, that it's just simple to me. Like whatever crowds, um, like big or small, I can easily perform for them. With acting wise, because I'm still kind of fresh in the market, man. Um, it's very difficult to try and get out of like your everyday life and adapt to that character. Like sort of where you'll get a script and then on the day of filming, like, all right, play this role, or you got to get into the frame of mindset of this character, and you got to kind of switch off and like sort of be that person, man, without looking silly. In a sense, you got to make it look like real in a sense, so um but then I got to take a step back, man, and say, well, how, like, over the years I've worked and how much I've grinded, how badly do I want it? And that really doesn't put like any boundaries, man. Like if I put the nervousness, like the lack of confidence, or the no, I don't want to do it, or that's telling me that this industry is too much for me. And I feel that like having a stable mind of saying nothing's gonna hold me back, man. That's what I can do, all these random characters and do anything on camera, man. You know? Yeah.
So what is your goals in the future?
That's like the hardest question, man. Goals in the future. If I could see the future with the Force, man, like a Jedi. Uh, man, I mean, at the moment, I'm working on two projects. So my third album, and Sydney Film School is working on sort of mini documentary about my career. They came up to the coast a few months back, and we filmed like 3 or 4 days, just interviewing me, my family, my friends and stuff, and how I got into hip hop and da 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 da. And they're sort of editing it up, and hopefully when that drops, we can submit it to the film festivals and stuff. So the future, man, is pretty much just those two projects, and then keep promoting and just keep grinding, man. So continue the same road.
Any upcoming performance, either an acting or a music tour?
Nah, with acting, with music wise, man, not at the moment, because I've been so focused on my third album, trying to concept that up. With acting wise, man, random things keep popping up. But yeah, I had a funny experience, not last night, the night before. I had to play sort of like a dead person, and the makeup people put me in like white face paint with black eyes and black lips, and they didn't know I was from the Central Coast, man, which is like 2 or 3 hours away. They thought I was from Sydney, and I said after the shoot, I was like, "You've got this stuff to get off my face, right?" And they were like, "Crap, wait, you're not from Sydney?" I said, "No, I'm from the coast," and I literally had to go home with all the commuters on the train, like the business suits and all of that. And you just see this one guy in the garage just with a pale white face with black eyes and black lipstick and stuff. And I was getting a whole ton of looks, man. That was real awkward for me. Yeah, just in time for the Joker movie, I suppose.
That's yes, it's gonna be. So you've been busy and doing for your third album, and people listening right now and watching right now who is want to be like a hip hop artist, a rapper. What is your advice to them?
Yeah, man, I feel like my advice is do hip hop music, man, because you love it. Like, it's such an amazing thing because it's become so universal and so culturally. It's not just the music, man. Like, when you think of sneakers, you think of hip hop. When you think of like, basketball or something, you think of hip hop, man. It's such a lifestyle way of thinking now that's the uniqueness of it. So, to whatever artist that comes into the game, just do it because you love it, and also like passionately learn where it came from, man. Because if you learn where it came from, like the 70s, the 80s, the 90s till now, it gives you more of a an understanding and more of a love towards it, man, than just doing it for the sake of doing it, Yeah.
So how people can engage to you if they want to see your album, how they can.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So my number one platform I use is on Facebook. So, to fans, viewers, or whoever's listening, if you want to check me out, go to Mugzy, Mugzy. And that keeps you up to updates with, interviews like this, albums, acting gigs, who I get to meet along the way. So yeah, just drop me an inbox. I try and get back to as many people possible, even though I get bombarded. But yeah, man, like Mugzy on Facebook is my number one platform. So Mugzy, and that's what keeps you up to update. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. So our future subscriber and for our listener and also the audience who are watching this right now. So I'll put a link below so that you can check the Facebook page of Mugzy, and let's see you again. So thank you so much, Mugzy, for your time to our guest for this Fresheyes. It's absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much.
100%, man. Thank you so much for having me on the show. And hey, like, you have another supporter for your podcast, man. And dude, if you're ever in Sydney, hopefully we cross paths, man, and like have a beer or something, man, for sure.
For sure. Thank you so much.
Awesome, man. All the best.
Thank you, Mugzy. So this is Mugzy, one of our best Australian hip hop rapper. So watch for the third album. And also we're gonna put all the link below so that you can check Mugzy in our podcast. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the day and see you next time. So please like and share and subscribe. Thank you.
Peace.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you're notified when a new episode is posted in Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, or via RSS. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, rate and review this podcast and share it with your friends. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us, and if you want to know more, check out kangaroofern.com.